Hi, and welcome back to Mentally Yours, a podcast presented by Mahfouz by Simran. This is a space where we dive into the untold stories of the people that we meet. We will listen to their challenges, their triumphs, and especially how mental health has helped them reach where they are today. If you are looking to get some motivation, to gain some insight, or to simply build a connection, this podcast is going to be a companion on the road towards mental health. And today we are honored to welcome an extraordinary guest on our podcast. He is the epitome of resilience, intellect, and service. He is an ex-IAS officer turned author and TEDx speaker. He started off as a cricketer, then became an engineer, then a serviceman, and now a motivational speaker. And today we are going to learn a lot from him because he is also an advocate of mental health and perseverance. Please welcome the multifaceted and inspiring Mr. Vivek Atray.
Thank you so much.
How
Good
are
to
you
be
feeling,
here.
sir?
I'm feeling good. This is Mahfouz by Simran, right?
Yes.
So I'm feeling Mahfouz, which means secure. It means secure,
This
right?
means a lot. Yeah,
It means safe and secure.
Safe and secure. Yes, like whenever we are in a therapy setup, हम हमेशा कहते हैं, this is a safe space for you, judgment-free space. So this is the purpose of the podcast also, to provide a safe and judgment-free space to everybody.
Right. Good.
So apart from this huge introduction, if I were to ask you to introduce yourself, maybe like in a word or two, apart from all of this, how would you introduce
So everybody
yourself?
is a journeyman. I mean, you're on a journey, right? So we're all human beings on a quest. And that quest is ultimately for success, but it can be a divine quest also if you become spiritually minded. So we're all incomplete. We are all in the making. So I'm also one of those persons. That's it.
So I have heard a lot about spirituality in your previous talks and podcasts also. How did spirituality enter in your life? Like, was it something you were really seeking, or it's something that happened all of a sudden?
So my parents were deeply religious, but we didn't know the word spirituality. And they passed away when I was young. But I was impacted by their calmness, their nature, their good nature. And they were very devoted to their work and life. So they were basically good people. But then when my wife Nina read the autobiography of a yogi, then we came onto the path. So she came onto the path and she would go and meditate and she would follow the practice of spiritual practice, sadhana. And she would meditate twice a day. And then I also got interested. And then I would go and pick her up from the center at time. And she would. So then I became more interested and then I became a meditator also, gradually.
Do you differentiate between spirituality or religion, or do you think one is backing the other one up or helping?
So in the ultimate sense, I think both are the same. But for our understanding, religion is a set of practices, rituals, the ways of thinking that are prescribed by the scriptures in that religion, the tenets, the guru or God that we follow. So religion is a certain set of thoughts, ideals, practices, and we follow them ultimately for the same goal.
Obviously.
But I think spirituality is a little higher and it is direct. Hopefully it means we are trying to attain direct contact with God and Almighty. So it's not through the ritualistic route. And even the purest form of religion is the same actually. But mankind has made it a little confusing over the centuries. It's not today or yesterday. It's over the centuries. And if you look at any religion, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Sikhism, anything, they're all not as clearly understood as they should be. And therefore it leads to confusion. But I think spirituality also is not clearly understood. But I think it's simpler to follow spirituality and to reach somewhere in your quest.
So religion could be one path, maybe, to
Yeah, so you must follow your religion. Supposing you are anybody who follows Sikhism, for example, must follow the tenets of and the practices and the jap and the part and then taking the name of God and gurus, and then you become a good devotee of that religion. But then I think meditation is what spirituality prescribes in more depth. And without meditation, spiritual thought is not really complete. So I am also As I said, I'm not an expert, so I'm also a practitioner. So I think spirituality is something which should come to everybody, and then we get over the little differences of opinion that religion creates, and then you go within. Hopefully, you go within, and then you win the inner battle. You try to win the inner battle.
So, do you think like spirituality is something that you can achieve with the help of a guru? जैसे हम हिंदुइज्म में भी बोलते हैं, और बहुत सारे लोग जो स्पिरिचुअल होते हैं वो ये जरूर मानते हैं कि गुरु का होना बहुत जरूरी है. Without the guru, you cannot lead to a better path in spirituality. Do you believe the same, or
So I
has
think
your
the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda, whom I follow, he's the author of the autobiography of a yogi and Kriya Yoga. So he says 3 things are required: a human body and mind for meditation. An animal cannot meditate because the animal doesn't have that
Intellect.
capacity,
Yeah,
intellect. The animal is instinctive, looking for food or safety or shelter or rescue. I mean, or killing someone, another animal. A human being has the capacity to meditate, to go deep within, to think, to quieten the thoughts. The second is the yearning for God. So if you are human but you're not yearning for God, then you're incomplete.
Exactly.
So you want to know why I'm here, what is the purpose of life, what is nature, curiosity, what is God, why is God so important, where is God, then that curiosity. And the third is, like you said, the teachings of a guru or a path to follow, a scientific path, hopefully, which is not just mumbo jumbo, it is scientific, it is logical. And there are some paths which lead us to the same place.
So I've heard you saying, like, there is a scientific way, a perfect way of meditation. For as I understand it, मुझे लगता है बहुत सारे तरीके हैं meditation के. Maybe, I mean, I am not, of course, as experienced as you. But मुझे लगता है there is this way जहाँ पर आप अपने thoughts को बिल्कुल you shun them away. Then there's a way you let them, go. Then there's this way जहाँ पर हम body awareness पर आते हैं. Then there's this way जहाँ पे 5 senses को activate करके we are focusing. So I don't think I have found the perfect way, but I would really like to know what's the perfect way for meditation.
So I don't say perfect. I don't use the word perfect. I would say the scientific paths are higher routes. So something which is clearly explained in writing, let's say. This is why you are following this technique of meditation. The logic. Now, I'm an engineer. And let's say a CEO, a business person, somebody who's rather well aware, a doctor, a professor. So that person needs to be convinced by some logic. So when I see those teachings, I read those teachings, they're perfectly logical to me, they're scientific, step by step, and the reasons are given. So then I believe in them, I follow them. So I think there are several paths. It's not that there's only one. I follow Kriya Yoga of Paramahansa Yogananda. And I think it's a great path for me to follow. And lots of people follow it.
Do you think spirituality is something that is ambiguous in a way, but that is more to be felt rather than to be done by rules?
Yeah, so ultimately it is to be felt and experienced, no doubt about it. But to reach that level, see, if you sit down to meditate and that I'm going to feel great and I'm going to do this and I'm going to be like that, it might not work. So we follow a step-by-step methodology and we reach a certain stage. And then we try to feel, to experience the stillness and peace within. Because we have done those techniques, then it is direct.
That actually makes sense, yeah. So you said you have read this book, The Autobiography of a Yogi. So I was actually seeking some answers in my life recently, and I happened to come across a few books, a few self-help books, and I was actually thinking about reading Gita. Do you think it's somehow connected in the universe, or like, it's meant to happen when you're actually seeking answer? The answers come in front of you in form of a book, let's say.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a saying that you walk towards God and He runs towards you. So who covers more distance? The saint says, you are only walking, He's running. So He's covering more distance. He comes to you. So you basically show the intent and the universe responds. So there's a saying that you help others and the universe starts helping you. So how does the universe know? It's a divine power, it's energy. And this is the law of attraction, the law of karma, the law of good deeds, bad deeds, whatever. So whatever you give to the universe, it comes back to you. So I'm also, as I said, I'm not an expert. I am also a devotee. But I would say this, that the intent is to quieten the senses, to go within at times, twice a day, let's say. And by quelling the senses, then we are focusing the energy within. And if we are focusing the energy within, then our inner self becomes alive. And the inner quest, the inner battle, the inner life becomes important to us. So you will find some saints who've been meditating for many years. Even when they're talking to us, suddenly they'll close their eyes for a second and concentrate within, even if they're talking about routine things. That consciousness of God or the inner life, we lose when we're watching a movie or a cricket match or talking or going for coffee. But if we can retain that, it also helps. So I have learned this much. And there are scientific methods which help us to go within and quell the senses and the energies of the senses from time to time. Not that we need to quell them all the time, but then the real fun begins.
So I've seen like you're really active on social media, and at the same time you are balancing, you're grounded also. How do you manage this? I mean, with a lot of other things that you're doing. I mean, I was researching, I was like, this is so much.
Yeah. So I think I mean, grounded, I don't know, but I definitely am active on social media and I try to be grounded. I was in the IAS. So the IAS makes you an all-rounder. And civil service job is an all-round job. So if you're a history professor, then you're teaching history. You may be playing the guitar also on Sunday, it's okay. But in the IAS, you are doing 100 things at the same time in your office or outside the office. So I became an all-rounder. And then when I resigned, I started doing many things outside the service. So it's natural, to be doing many things at the same time. So there is a literary society. There is a vibrant forum. There is an academy for civil services aspirants. There is my talks, which is my major work. I travel to speak. I speak in Chandigarh, elsewhere also. I do podcasts. I do social media. I post something which is inspiring. So my job, I feel, is to be a role model for inspiration because there is so much of negativity around. There's so much of vicious kind of atmosphere outside. And the youth who's trying to make a mark sees all this negativity and feels depressed. So people like me have to be the opposite force for that. So I manage, you said, how do I do it? I think it's just the intent. You try and you will be able to achieve.
So I've seen that, you have this resilience within you, the perseverance. On one end, you are a great advocate of mental health. And then as you were saying, ki IAS ki job, you have to be an all-rounder. So how do you manage both? Or aaj ke time pe jab log thoda sa kaam karke, and I'm not questioning their mental status, but they feel burnout. And I remember you saying that there was this one show where a 14-year-old child asked you to, to share your day, and they got tired at the end, but you were still active.
Yeah. He says, "Sir, aap thake nahi?" I said, "मैं तो नहीं थका, आप थके?" He said, "हाँ, मैं तो बहुत थके." He's 14 years old, and I think that energy is. I'm blessed with that. I think I have a lot of energy. I get up in the morning wanting to do lots of things. Never feel dull, bored or anything. That is an excuse we make to ourselves.
Yeah.
That today I don't want to do this, or today I don't feel like. Not feeling like doing something, it never comes to me.
Did you ever feel this feeling of burnout? Like, this is too much work for me. I need a break from everything. I need to take a sabbatical maybe.
I do feel that sometimes when I'm traveling a lot, that airport check-in and then security and then, getting... sometimes I feel that, but not much. And coming back to the work mode which I have, I just I enjoy each day. I look forward to everything. I know I have these 4 or 5 things today. This is one of them. Not this is the only podcast today, but there are other things also.
Okay.
But at times I may have 2 talks per day. Let's say. So I look forward to each day.
So I've seen you doing a lot of things. Like you were into cricket. I know you still hold it in your heart.
I love it. Today India beat Australia at Perth and I'm delighted, very happy.
That.
And that too by a big margin of 200 and something runs. Fantastic. Yes.
I can see that passion within you. So you used to love cricket. I mean, you still do. And then you also did engineering. You went into civil services and now
Hmm.
you're a motivational speaker.
Hmm.
So whenever I try to do a lot of things, मुझे हमेशा बोला जाता है jack of all trades, master of none.
Hmm.
I mean, when I got to know the whole phrase,
Hmm.
I've been telling people it's still better than master of one. So do you think somebody should devote their life to just one profession and be perfect at it, or try different professions and learn something out of all of it, like each one of those, and hold a different aura, hold a different personality, like the way you are doing?
I think it's a good question. It's a good point to discuss because this is my favorite topic actually. So my first TEDx talk was on this. Either you become a unidimensional person, you are very good at one thing, but you're only good at that one thing. Or you become a bit of a master of a few things and then you know a little bit about everything.
Yeah.
So if somebody from, let's say, Burkina Faso comes, you have at least heard of Burkina Faso, right?
Exactly.
So then you're okay. But you don't need to know which cuisine they have, which religion they follow. That part you can't get to all that. However, being an all-rounder also means that you take interest in various things. So there are 5 or 6 things in my life which I really feel interested in. Cricket is one of them. Sports as a whole is another. So definitely any sport. Music I love. Music I take a lot of interest in, and my wife and I, we even try and sing some duets at times, but we're not singers. But we take interest. Then the youth interest in interacting with them, inspiring them. Even I rarely speak to school kids. Normally, I speak to college college students or professionals or even more senior people. Nowadays, I'm mentoring some CEOs also. But recently, I addressed some 6th, 7th, 8th class students. So they were looking at me like this. So I told them some stories which I enjoyed. They enjoyed, I enjoyed. I enjoyed the fact that they enjoyed them. And then this boy comes up to me the next day because I go to the meditation center. And I didn't know he was there in that school that day. I didn't know he studies in that school. His dad is the caretaker of that meditation center.
Okay.
So when I went to the center the next day, he says, "Sir, kal aap hamare school aaye the." I said, "Aap us school mein padhte ho?" He said, "Yeah." So I said, "Acha, I didn't know." There were like 500 kids, obviously. I didn't know. He was probably in class 6 or something. Now he wants to take a selfie with me to show his ma'am that he knows me. He must have told his ma'am that I know them. And she was like, "No, tum kahan jante ho?" So now he took a selfie and went and showed her that. So this kind of thing makes me an all-rounder because I look forward to everything in this, right? So in the morning, 7:30 is not very early, but 7:30 I'm watching the match because it's Perth. And when you go to New Zealand, the match starts at 4 a.m. They go to New Zealand, we watch at 4 a.m. So then music, there's something, there's family, there's creative thinking, there are discussion circles, there are literary activities. We have a novel bunch, which is very nice, which you all should join actually. And
Deepti ma'am actually suggested that we should.
Professor Deepti Gupta.
Yeah.
And nature, I have grown more fond of nature now. I have more space in my mind after resigning from the service. I even remember telephone numbers now, which I never used to remember.
That is something, yeah.
So I try to declutter my mind. So I take interest in things, in many things. So it makes me a more complete person. I think younger or even older people should also do so. Yeah.
So you have been to a lot of shows, TEDx, and then podcast also. You have been to the Ranveer Abadia show, Raj Shamani. Do you at times feel vulnerable because people look at you and they are really inspired by? I mean, they follow you so much. So do you feel that you have to have this persona, have to have like a perfect image? And of course, we are not, right? We all have our flaws. So how do you feel about that?
You are not. Why are you saying we are not? You are not.
No, I mean, I am though not even 1% of what you are.
So, what is your question? That
so,
do you?
How do you balance in between like being vulnerable and holding a certain kind of an image?
So I think the civil service and my father was an IPS officer. That upbringing helped me, no doubt. And in the civil service, you have to be always on. I tell I train people now. So I tell them you cannot relax. You can relax. But if there's a call and you are sleeping or you're at a party or you're at Goa or you're in a problem, that call needs attention in the government when you are in service, a police officer or a civil service. So you cannot be half-hearted there.
Yeah.
So give it everything. And this particular thing that you said about, the vulnerability, it is there, but it subsides. You become more confident. Like I was, when I graduated when I was 18 years old, I wanted to play cricket. My father told me, go for engineering. Now, at that stage, my heart was broken. And he was right. He was right. I was 17 and a half actually. But then I felt vulnerable and I felt low. But then things happened in college, and then I met my wife to be in college. She came. Then, we had long conversations. I grew out of that. When you talk to someone, you get out of your vulnerabilities. Then I became a little vulnerable when I was leaving the service. So then career started. I was in the service and all. Then I thought, should I not? But apart from these two times, I've been pretty confident of myself. So whatever I carry is me. So it is not like I have to put on any act.
Makes sense.
Yeah, of course, I'm also a father. It's 2 girls. So at times you have to obviously show your resilience. You have to show your strength. And people are looking up to you. Yes, sometimes you have to, as a leader also.
Yeah.
So I have a leadership talk where I say the leader cannot afford to show panic, cannot afford to show worry on his face or her face, because the team is watching you.
Yeah.
How will he react or she react in this situation? So I think you do put on an exterior to some extent, but ultimately you have to be that from within.
So, I don't know. I kind of have like a difference of opinion with
Okay,
this,
go
because
ahead.
as psychologists, we always say, you should welcome all your emotions. Even if you are a leader, your vulnerabilities, your fears, even if you're having anxiety, you should welcome it, because it might somehow help within the bonding, right?
No, but you can share that vulnerability, that anxiety with your spouse, with your cousin, with your friend, with your mother, with somebody who's closer to you. But in the team, you don't have to. I mean, I feel as a leader, you should not. Supposing there's a very extreme situation and you feel like crying, and people are like watching you, and you remain that tough. You have that tough or that balanced exterior, feeling bad, but you're not crying. You go back home and cry. So you keep that calmness for a while.
Okay.
And you have to. I know you're a psychologist, but the thing is that at some places you have to retain that balance for the sake of others.
Yeah, I absolutely understand where this is coming from.
You can't show that anxiety to them. You can then do some journaling, as you would know, writing therapy. My daughter has done some arts-based therapy.
Oh,
So
I do that too.
You do that too. So the creative therapy, which helps her, helps others also to have that outlet. But then in the place where it matters, you don't show your that frailties.
Makes sense. So I don't know. I'm very intrigued to know, how were you as a child? I mean, I can imagine you being very docile.
No, I was a cricketer, and I was shy, and I was thin. These are the 3 things. And I used to read a lot of books.
Yeah, that
books, cricket, shyness, and and thin. Yeah.
You're still
And tall.
maintaining, apart from being shy, you're like very outspoken now.
I grew taller. Yeah, I'm confident now. I became a speaker in service. So I joke with my audiences when I speak on stage that speaker ka ye matlab nahi that Lok Sabha speaker, Vidhan Sabha speaker.
You started with good governance.
Only a chief guest speaker type of person. So then I started with with governance and all. I started speaking on stage. It became easier for me. I was a good communicator. I'd read a lot of books. So I used to speak well, write well. I don't know how I started writing well, because I read a lot. So I'm a good writer. I'm a better writer than a speaker.
I still remember, you saying in one of your reels that I can write better than ChatGPT. I was intimidated for a moment. I was like,
yeah, I think I can write better than ChatGPT.
That is impressive. That is impressive.
Because the art of writing is not there in ChatGPT.
Yeah, of course.
The structure is there, the word is there, the language is there, the content is there in ChatGPT. But the flair is not there. The artist is not there.
So how was your father like? I mean, he was also an IPS officer. So did you always have that strict kind of an environment at home, maybe?
He was strict. He was quiet. I'm much more talkative. He was a quiet person. Quiet persons are a bit intimidating.
Yeah.
So you never used to talk much. And we used to be, my sister's twins. They're younger than me, and we used to be scared of him. But he was still warm in his own way, And our mother was very affectionate. And he was very successful. So he was posted to London, which was a prize posting. I was a little boy, 7 years old, to 10. 3 years I was there.
Okay.
And he was posted there because he was brilliant. Then he was in the CID, the IB, and he was SSP of Gurgaon, and DIG, and then ADGP. So he was pretty much an ideal officer, and people used to look up to him. So I think he was very inspiring for all of us.
Is this the reason maybe you got into civil service? I mean, I remember you saying that, after his demise, you were posted.
I was given that post,
yeah.
but it was something which made me want to. I could have said no also and tried my own thing. I'm an engineer. So I could have gone into that line, but I was trying for the civil service.
But I think the fact that you did justice, and I think the fact that you did so much more. I mean, Chandigarh's IT park is like, there's something that we can talk about whenever we talk about your tenure here in Chandigarh. So, of course, I mean, maybe the way your father was contributed a lot to, how you
he
became
made me,
as a person.
that part of my personality comes from him. And he was very assured of himself. He was very dynamic. And I think that confidence came from there. So when I came into the service, he died and I came in his place because he was not there. And he was only 50 and I was only 24. So when I came into the service, you're right, it was easier for me to understand the service, to understand the system. I was just myself. It was easy for me. And then I became more myself, and then I became more confident. And there are knocks and letdowns at times, but then I still remained cool.
So I loved dancing as a child, and when given an option, my parents really wanted me to choose a career which is like more stable, of course. So I got it. I love psychology, regardless of whatever my heart holds for dancing. But then I keep going back to dancing no matter what. So I have a similar question for you, like to what I said. Do you feel like, you should have become a cricketer, maybe, in a parallel universe, let's say?
Of course. So you should have become a dancer, I should have become a cricketer, there's no doubt about it. Everyone should have become a Hollywood hero, Bollywood hero, because they all wanted to.
Do you think that...
We don't get that choice.
Yeah. No, I mean, let's say if you were given that choice, would you still choose...
I would.
Becoming
I would definitely. I would want to be a test cricketer.
Oh.
No doubt about it. Over IAS, over everything. Over Ranveer, Allahabadiya, everything.
The heart wants what it wants. You want to be like, yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So, just say, I
would have still been on the Ranveer show. I would have still been on any podcast.
But like as a cricketer, maybe. Yeah.
More chances. In fact, that reminds me of the tournament we organized in my father's memory, because we're talking about cricket and my father. So, DOP Atray tournament. And there's a... what's his name now? I'm forgetting the name of the actor. He used to be a cricketer.
Okay.
And he's not a very senior actor. He's a Punjabi film actor, and he went on the Ranveer show.
Okay.
Raj Shamani. And on the Raj Shamani show, he talked about a tournament.
Okay.
So that became viral. And he said that there's a tournament with Dhoni played, and Dhoni played in our tournament, the JP Atray tournament.
Okay.
And he's talking about it on the Raj Shamani show. So I realized that, in some ways, and my wife Neena says it now, all your ambitions of becoming a cricketer, or at least being associated with cricket, of being popular and, being appreciated. And now I'm like on YouTube. My ex-boss, I went out to KPMG for a while in consulting. He was my boss.
Okay.
He is now in the US. Yesterday on LinkedIn, after maybe many years, though I was in touch with him, he sent me a text, watching you on the television. What is he watching? He's watching the Ranveer show. Okay. So he's watching that thing and he sends me a screenshot of it or a picture of it. And it's very nice to be watching you on that. So, I'm getting all my desires are being fulfilled that way. Yeah,
of being popular. I know that
most of them.
You love being popular. Have
popular.
That.
See, there's a topic. There's a very important theory. Money and power and fame are the three quests of mankind. So money is something which is obviously limited, and how much money do you need? And money will not give you happiness. So money we don't need beyond a point. Power is something I've seen. My father has seen. Many people have seen. It doesn't give unlimited happiness.
Yeah.
And fame is something which still remains with us. So the fact that you need to be appreciated is something that no one can give up.
And I think the fact, for all the right reasons, I mean, you want to be out there so that you can, nurture young minds. You want to share what you have gained all throughout your life. So this is something commendable. So I have seen that you have this desire, this zeal to do so much for the youngsters. And then at the same time, you are into spirituality. And I believe spirituality is something that brings a lot of calm and pause. How do you balance the both? Like, you're running after something and then you're like pausing.
Very good question. It's the best question till now. Outstanding. Because I often talk about this. You can be dynamic and calm at the same time. Being dynamic and driven and wanting to do lots of things and yet being calm in the mind. So Paramahansa Yogananda said, be calmly active and actively calm.
Wow.
Now, actively calm is a brilliant phrase. That means you're working on your calmness actively. And calmly active means you are active but with calm minds. So I think what we need to achieve is a balance between the two. I want to do lots of things, but when I am on one thing, I am focused totally on that, concentrating on that. I'm not restless for the next thing. So I'm in this podcast with you right now, so I'm here. I'm not anywhere else. I'm talking to you, so I'm giving you my full attention. Of course, on screen, you can't afford to do anything else.
Yeah.
But in real life, we might be looking at our phone, we might be doing something else, we might be thinking what to do here, chai lao, ye karo, wo karo, which distraction is not there. But in real life, it's there. So I think that is something, the ability we have to have, and maybe I didn't have it initially, but now I try to acquire it. Wanting to do lots of things, yet remaining calm in the mind, and meditation twice a day, and also what we call practicing the presence of God. The red light turned green. Who do you thank? I say this in my talks. You can thank the JE of the MC, or you can thank God. JE ने timer लगाया हुआ ना, तो red से green हो गई या पुलिस ने लगाया हुआ है. And you can thank, oh yeah, thank you so much. Or you thank God for helping you to see all green lights when you were in a hurry. Or the kind of food you wanted today, that food is there. Mama didn't know, or so-and-so didn't know that you wanted today, but you got it. Who gave it to you? So if you have that attitude of gratitude, then you are centered in God. You are active, but you're centered in God. And so you're both dynamic and calm. Calmness and God-centeredness is
interlinked, let's say.
Yes.
Okay. So I prepared for a competitive exam. It was like a basic one. I could not clear it. But then now my sister is preparing for one. And I've also seen 12th fail.
You don't want to use the word fail.
No. I was like so into I just went into that emotion that I failed the exam
right.
for a moment. So it's a lot mentally. I mean, it's too much. So I know, of course, it helps in segregating between, who's the best to handle a position like that. But do you think we can add on to something, or maybe we can make provisions where we can maybe, consider mental health also in this?
So I'm going to give a very far-reaching thought in this, that, we should probably have a basic competitive exam for everybody in the country. A basic one.
Okay.
So it's like IELTS, etc. for going abroad. Earlier we used to have TOEFL.
Yes.
So I remember preparing for TOEFL, and I think I broke the record or something like that. At least some record. I got 770 out of 776.
Yet
I thought I broke the record. I thought I broke the record.
Okay.
I don't know whether anyone did.
Okay.
But the thing is that getting it, no, I'm not humble. I'm mentioning it, so I'm not humble, right?
No, I mean, but you're like...
But the point is that these competitions should probably be in stages. So everybody appears for a GK acumen test in the country. Once you have got a certain score in that, then you're eligible to sit for this particular, let's say, the UPSC exam.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah. So it's not the prelims, it is a pre, but for everything.
Yeah.
It also helps you in other things. So I think a GK test is required firstly. Maybe personality can be part of that. So like you're saying, they want to select the best, but the system is not perfect. So there may be people who are, I often make fun of maths toppers, but let me make fun of physics toppers. Though my dad was from physics. So you got 99 in physics. And then you went for the interview and you could not really answer the questions as well as you should. But you got into the IAS because you got high scores in your physics exam.
Yeah.
So maybe you're not a complete personality, but you're there. And somebody else who got lesser marks, but is more well-rounded, as they say, officer-like qualities are there. Could be that the physics 99 guy has officer-like qualities. There's no harm in that. But the thing is that you need to be more of this than that.
Yeah.
So I think the test needs to be a little tailored, and the army selects people in about 1 week. They do psychometric, they do physical, they do mental toughness, etc., etc., etc. Maybe 5 days. The IAS, the UPSC system has a 30 to 40 minute interview. I think it needs to be more. And the people appearing for that interview need to be, there shouldn't be so many people appearing for the exam, first of all.
Exactly.
So the tension will be less. The level of depression in the country will be less. In that GK exam, so I got only 48 marks, so how can I appear for the UPSC?
Exactly.
So I think something like that.
And
should
we add
sifting.
More provisions? I mean, I have seen you talk about, like, you know, in your coaching institutes, you have been talking a lot about, you know, representation, public speaking, and all of, you know, resilience building, not giving up. Is this something we should talk more often in schools rather than, you know, just sticking to basic education?
Absolutely right. In schools, we have to have social emotional learning.
Exactly. EQ, IQ.
EQ. And we have to have well-rounded personality. So much of what you studied in school, they studied in school. We're never using it. Never using it. So those, let's say 100 hours could have been spent on conversation skills.
Exactly.
Now you have conversation skills. I also have some of them. So we're having a conversation.
Some of them, at least.
Conversation हो रही है. I have to be humble. So the thing is that वो school में किसी ने नहीं सिखाया. So the teacher used to talk and we used to listen. In a convent school, I won't name it, but everybody is quiet listening to the teacher. Nobody can talk.
Nobody's questioning.
Yeah, nobody's questioning. Now, at least, I think it has changed a bit in the new education policy, etc. But then implementation is the key. Exactly. So I think you're right. We should have much more of emotional learning in schools.
So you have been at a position where you were supposed to take like very tough firm decisions at times that your conscious or maybe your moral grounds would not allow you, but you still took them. How did you deal with that dilemma, with that situation where you do not want to do something from your heart, but you have to do it for the sake of it, or maybe somebody more powerful is governing you, or you know you have to do it, but you're not?
So luckily for me, I never had to do that. And it's not necessary to do that. You don't have to do anything. So in the civil services, you are a permanent officer.
Okay.
And the politician is temporary. So you are there for 35 years.
One way of looking at it, yeah.
He's there for 5 years at a time. He could come for 10 years, but that's different. Nobody can make you do anything which you don't want to do. That is for sure in the government. But I think there are things which you should do in the public interest, which otherwise I can't think of an example immediately, but there are things where you think logically this is right, but the other one is better in the public interest.
Makes sense.
So you should do that. So postponing something, for example, because you wanted to do it that day because everything is ready, but because of a certain accident or a certain mela or a certain religious thing, people won't turn up, so you have to postpone it. Now, coming back to your thing, so very few times does it happen that this dilemma occurs that, you know, somebody wants you to do something and you have to do something. You have to explain to that guy or that person that, so this can be done, this can't be done. And if he or she is not listening to you, they'll transfer you out. I've said it on podcast.
Yeah.
Transfer is not a punishment.
Yeah,
everybody knows in the government. You go from Chandigarh to Bhiwani. Bhiwani is not Chandigarh, but you go and you come back one day.
I love talking to you. This is so good. Okay. So you have taken an early retirement from your position as an IAS officer. Do you think, was it because, like, you know, you have said that you wanted to do a lot of other things. Do you think you are, you know, able to do a lot of other things? And is there something that you're proud of, including your time with? I'm
happy about certain things. So I'm happy about my time with the youth, for sure. And sometimes young people, they text me, so I was feeling low and I saw your podcast or I saw this one. And when they've all seen one podcast. So when they say, I've seen you on that podcast, I say, have you watched any other? Only one. They say, no, sir. Let's go and watch the others. So this gives me a lot of happiness and contentment. and making a mark there. Secondly, I think I do a lot of activities in this region of Chandigarh, which were not happening earlier. Some of us have started a think tank, a vibrant forum, as I said, literary activities, novel punch. And we have made this a more happening place in terms of more fulfilling activities. I also think that after leaving, I have been able to be myself a little more, write more freely. Although I don't really write very, let's say, attacking, aggressive articles against anybody. I write feel-good articles. So feel-good is anyway okay. But I'm more creative. So I am enjoying this phase of being more creative, noticing more. I said I notice certain things which I didn't earlier. I am quite observant. I notice most things because my mind is calmer. Otherwise, if I'm going to get 10 calls after this to discuss some file, or the CM is calling me for a meeting, I'm on that.
Yeah, exactly.
That after this I have to go and I can't spend more time. Usually, civil services officers are restless. And they're restless, even I was restless, because of the next thing which is coming up or something more important. So, jaldi batao. I have to go. That kind of thing is not really good. So, that I'm not into that now.
And I think meditation must have helped you a lot with that, calming yourself down and not being on the edge all the time.
That is the key. Meditation is probably people think it's not an activity. It is an activity. It's the highest form of activity. Meditation is the highest form of activity.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have a lot of more questions to ask, but we are running out of time. So we'll be entering in the segment which is called the mental health rapid fire round.
Sure.
Okay. And you have to be very quick. Okay.
I'll try.
That I am sure you are. Okay.
I'll try.
One tip that you would like to give to the youngsters so that they can practice resilience.
Be yourself, just be accurate and don't overthink about what people are thinking.
Okay. What's a small win you celebrate each day?
I think I celebrate the fact that God has given us so much in life. So I thank, whenever I remember Him, it's a win. Whenever I don't, yesterday, for example, I thought I'll keep my focus on God. And after 2 hours, I remember, I forgot to keep my focus on Him. So that's a loss. But then you come back to that. So I think spirituality gives me the wins now.
Okay. If you had to give mental health a color, what would it be and why?
It would be blue because my favorite.
Oh.
And that is my favorite. So I don't know whether it's significant, whether it's a happy color, not a happy color. They say you're in the blues, which is not being happy. But I think it's a great color.
Is this a coincidence that I'm wearing blue
I
today?
saw it. I saw your blue.
So name a song that describes your mental health journey. And I know now that you like singing.
आने वाला पल जाने वाला है.
Love it. Okay.
हो सके तो इसमें जिंदगी बिता ले. पल जो ये जाने वाला है. I can't sing it right now.
Okay. What's your mental wellness guilty pleasure?
Eating chocolates and not sticking to the plan. But I'm pretty much disciplined. Sometimes I'll watch a little more sport or music before sleeping than I should, sleep a little later than I should. These are the only guilty pleasures.
You have done so good, you deserve that, I think.
Maybe there are certain other things, but anyway.
Okay. Describe your perfect day in 3 words.
I think travel to Goa, travel to a destination,
Ooh.
and then sitting there and just being yourself.
Indulging in nature, yeah.
And maybe playing some cricket.
How can we skip that? Of course. Okay. If you could create a mental health superhero, what would their power be?
Their power would be to correct people's thoughts.
Cognitive restructuring.
This person is thinking in the wrong way. Correct this.
Yeah.
Especially the ones who are feeling low. Raise the level of their, their thinking.
That's what we do in CBT. Okay. What's a skill or hobby that always lifts your mood? I think I know the answer maybe.
Outdoor sport.
Okay. What's your mental health happy place?
Home, that too, the living room where somebody's walking in, somebody's walking out. And then the garden.
Okay. What's one habit that instantly improves your day?
I think that habit is, it's sounding very hackneyed, but reading something spiritual, meditating. Improves your day. Supposing I forgot to meditate or didn't have time, too many calls, traveling. But then when I sit down in the plane, I travel a lot, once a week, 10 days I'm traveling. So I'm in the flight, couldn't meditate. Now suddenly I start meditating. It improves my day.
Wow. Okay. Okay. If you could only keep one mental health app on your phone, which one would it be? I mean, do you have?
I have knowledge of an app called Visa.
Okay. Okay.
So Visa is run by, somebody called Pranav Gupta in our family. And he is very important in that organization. So Visa is an app which I would recommend because it helps youngsters to reach out to a platform which is approachable on text and all, and they love it.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
Visa.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And now for our ritual, we always give something to our guests. Would you please open this and
I
accept
shall.
this?
I shall. Why not? Thank you so much. I like this color too.
Oh.
Though it's, so why do you want me to have a gift actually? It's nice to be on your podcast anyway.
I mean, this is something very small, but we always want to honor, to the guests who are there.
Okay, thank you so much. Very nice of
And
you.
because
Yeah.
you like writing so much.
Yes, so we can pose with this.
Yeah. Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and before we just end,
Very nice of you.
one thing that you would like to tell our audience, something that you have learned throughout your journey, one mantra maybe you would like to tell them.
So don't overthink. Don't think too much about what people are thinking of you, and be yourself. But one more thing I'd add is be a higher energy version of your own self.
That is a very wise statement. I don't know if you guys enjoyed it as much as I did, like being in the physical proximity. I was blown away by the aura. And when I initially approached sir, he was very enthusiastic. I mean, he was very supportive of the fact that, you want to do a podcast, let's do it. I mean, I was very
Your
conscious.
theme was very interesting. And the fact that you are a psychologist, because I do get invitations for podcasts. I have refused some.
Oh.
And there's nothing wrong with them.
Mhm.
But I was happy to meet you. Yeah.
I mean, this means a lot. And then the fact that sir is humble, but then he has that knack, I love that. And I'm sure all of you must have learned a lot today with his wisdom, all the things that he has gained in his life. It was a commendable part that he shared with us today. And I'm sure we will be implementing those in our lives. So, yes, I would see you again in the next episode of Mentally Yours, presented by Mahfouz by Simran. Till then, take care of your mental health the way you take care of your physical health.